The building was quiet that night, the kind of quiet that only exists past midnight, when cleaning carts replace briefcases and marble floors belong to nobody important. Ethan Cole moved through the 42nd floor alone, the way he always did. Invisible. Forgettable. When he found the cracked phone on the conference room floor, he almost left it there. Almost. 20 minutes later, the screen blazed back to life, and a $10 million transfer notification filled the display. But it wasn't the money that stopped his heart. It was the name. Ethan Cole was 34 years old, and he was very good at disappearing. Not literally, though he had done that once, long ago, in the daily sense. The kind of disappearing that happens when a man makes himself small enough that no one looks twice. He arrived at Hailtech's corporate tower every night at 11:30, wheeled his cart through the lobby without meeting anyone's eyes, and was gone before the first executives appeared at 7 in the morning. He was a shadow with a mop. That was how he preferred it. The building itself was the kind of place designed to make certain people feel small, specifically, the people who weren't supposed to be there. 47 floors of glass and steel rising from the financial district, every surface either polished marble or brushed chrome. The lobby alone was larger than the entire apartment complex where Ethan and his daughter lived. Abstract sculptures worth more than his annual salary gathered dust in corners no one ever used. He noticed these things. He noticed everything, quietly, the way he had always noticed everything. His daughter, Lily, was 7 years old and fiercely certain that her father was the most capable man alive. She had evidence. He fixed the leaking pipe under their kitchen sink without calling a plumber. He helped her build a working model rocket for her second-grade science fair, complete with a payload recovery parachute. He explained computer networks to her using paper cups and string, and she understood. "Daddy fixes things," she told her teacher with complete confidence. The same way other children announced their fathers were astronauts or firefighters. It was simply a fact about the world, as reliable as gravity. What Lily did not know, because Ethan had not told her, had not told anyone, was that her father had once been something considerably more than a nighttime custodian. 6 years ago, his name had appeared in industry publications alongside words like prodigy and visionary. He had led a software engineering team of 31 people at the age of 28. He had built systems that no one else in his field had thought to build. And then, 10 years ago, he had stopped. His professional profile disappeared. His contact information went silent. He left no forwarding address, no explanation. No trace, only the quiet fact of his absence. And the daughter he was raising alone after losing her mother too soon. Now he worked nights and spent his days making Lily breakfast and walking her to school and existing in the ordinary world with a discipline that sometimes felt like holding his breath underwater. Victoria Hale occupied a different world entirely. 32 years old, the founder and CEO of one of the fastest-growing technology companies in the country. She was the kind of woman who entered a room and made the room rearrange itself around her, not through warmth but through sheer, compressed presence. She had not reached her position by being approachable, and she had no particular interest in starting. Both of them were inside the same building on the same nights. They had never spoken a word to each other. That was about to change. It happened on a Tuesday, just past 1 in the morning. Ethan was making his second pass through the executive conference room on the 38th floor when he spotted a phone lying face down near one of the leather chairs, partially hidden by the shadow of the conference table. A sleek, dark device in a case that cost more than his weekly grocery run. He picked it up. The screen was dark. He pressed the side button once, then again. Nothing. He turned the device over and found the hairline fracture running across the upper corner. Not catastrophic, but enough to explain the unresponsive display. He set it on the table and started to write a note explaining he'd leave it at the front desk. Then he stopped. The lobby changed security staff at 2 in the morning. The phone would sit in a drawer, unsecured. He looked at the device again, the residual warmth of recent use still in the casing, and hesitated. He was still standing there when the elevator opened. Victoria Hale walked into the conference room with the contained efficiency of someone who had remembered something critical and come back for it. She stopped the moment she saw him. Her eyes moved from his face to the phone in his hand and back again, with a precision that suggested she had already catalogued several possibilities and was working through them. "That belongs to me," she said. Her voice was not raised. It did not need to be. "I found it near the chair," Ethan said, setting it down on the table and stepping back. The step was instinctive, the small, practiced deference of a man who had spent years making himself unimposing. It isn't turning on. The boot process is looping. Victoria picked up the phone, pressed the button. Nothing. Pressed it again. "This has everything I need for tomorrow morning," she said, to no one in particular and to him simultaneously. "I can fix it," Ethan said. The words were out before he had decided to say them. Victoria looked at him with the expression of a person encountering something that doesn't belong to the category they've assigned it. "You can fix it," she repeated. "There's a technical room 2 floors down. I have what I need." She studied him for a long moment. "Fine," she said, "but I'm watching." The secondary technical room on the 36th floor was a narrow space with 2 workbenches, a wall of labeled spare components, and fluorescent lighting that buzzed at a frequency designed to make you feel like you'd been there longer than you had. Ethan set the phone on the bench and reached into his cart for a small toolkit, the kind no ordinary cleaning employee would be carrying. Victoria noticed. She said nothing, but she noticed. He worked without visible effort. The boot loop was a firmware conflict, not a hardware failure. The kind of error that occurred when a recent software update collided with a deeper system process at an inopportune moment during boot. He accessed the device's recovery interface through a combination of button presses that required knowing an exact timing window, a window not documented in any publicly available source. His fingers moved through the sequence without hesitation, the way hands remember things that minds prefer to keep quiet. Victoria stood near the door with her arms crossed, watching. It was during the diagnostic cycle that he saw it. The phone's security architecture was not standard. It was layered well past anything a corporate device would require: multiple encryption passes, hardware-level key storage, a custom VPN tunnel activating at the operating system level before any applications loaded. He had encountered this configuration before. Not on consumer devices, on systems built for environments where interception was a considered and persistent threat. He did not react. He continued the repair, face neutral, hands steady. "Military-grade encryption," he said, because mentioning it was less suspicious than pretending he hadn't seen it. Victoria's posture shifted slightly. High-level corporate devices carry enhanced security. Enhanced security doesn't typically route through a hardware security module at boot. That's not a standard commercial configuration. It's custom-built. A pause. "You know what that means." "I know what a lot of things mean," he said quietly, and returned his attention to the phone. Near the end of the recovery process, a directory briefly populated in the diagnostic interface, a deeply nested folder structure, no visible labels, a string of file names visible for less than 2 seconds before the partition closed. He did not look at them. He moved his eyes back to the main interface and waited for the sequence to finish. It would have been easy to look. The folder was there, open for those 2 seconds, and whatever it contained, the architecture alone said it was something someone had gone to considerable lengths to protect. He looked away. 10 years of practice. The discipline of not reaching for things that weren't his to take. The phone began to boot correctly. The loading bar moved steadily from left to right. Victoria watched in silence. Neither of them spoke. The boot sequence completed at 1:47 in the morning. For a moment, nothing happened. The screen showed the standard lock display the time, the date, a plain wallpaper. Then, before Victoria could reach for the device, notifications began arriving in a cascade. Email alerts. calendar reminders, missed call indicators. The phone had been